Hey guys, I'm Alex from 3dbrothers.com, and in this video I want to show you how do we clean up the motion captured using motif from natural point. Now I'm looking at the 2D data, so that's what actually the cameras captured, and the first step is to get the characters and the markers look right on a T-pose, because sometimes you might get a broken T-pose, and if you are trajectorizing like that, you might get a lot of issues with the trajectorized data. So make sure you are doing some back and forth until you get the T-pose like it was actually shot. That's the reason you are starting the animation with a T-pose and you are ending it in the same way. So it's actually okay. Right here I was holding a plastic knife in my hand, so that's why I don't have a perfect T-pose. At this point I need to click on to right click on the animation, take, and hit the trajectorize. It will take a second to do the calculation, and if everything's okay, you should see now the markers labeled. And here you can see that it has gaps inside. So these are gaps that these are caused because the marker was either lost or it was mislabeled. Sometimes you can get another marker in the same place, but which is unlabeled, and when it's unlabeled, it's like that. It's marker dash and a number to show you that it's unlabeled. And to start fixing these gaps, you have a couple of options. When it's an easy gap like these are, it's pretty easy to fill them using the cubic. Here I need to add the max gap size, and if I click on fill selected, it will fill the gap that has been selected. You can click on fill all, but sometimes you might get some gaps that are better filled using the other options we have, like pattern based and model based. I actually don't understand what model based do. What I'm using, it's cubic and pattern based. Maybe I will look on the documentation to see if I find something like this. You can see at this point that we are getting this orange marker. When it's orange, it means that it's unlabeled. You can see right here it's marker dash 339. So what I can do is to go back and see what is the name of this marker. So it's Alex chest 3. So now if I go here, right click, go on label marker Alex chest 3. The information from that marker has been added to the marker 3. So now you see that we have the markers filling a bit of this this gap already. If you have multiple markers that are unlabeled, like I think I have here, you can see that I have a lot of gaps in here. You can actually shift select these markers like that, or sorry, it's control click to select multiple markers. and you will need to assign those markers. Let me see what's there. It's our pinky one. Right click, label Alex, our pinky one. Okay, and you can see that it fills a lot of the missing data in here, so it's no longer flickering. Sometimes you might get issues when the data is overlapping. Not sure if they fixed that in Motive 1.6. They released a beta version at this point, and I want to try it out, and hopefully I will be able to do that tomorrow and see if this things has been fixed, or if it will give you the ability to choose to delete the data on the old marker, because that marker may have some issues, and you will need to delete the data manually before you can uh, you can replace the missing data with an actual marker that has been unlabeled whatsoever. So let me show you the process to fill this quickly. So I'll pick another marker with the by the way, to move on the timeline, you just right click, up and down makes the curves steeper, or makes them flatten. If you right click and go left and right, it will resize the work area. So like this, you can see that you have this red bars here that are indicating that you have a gap. Another way to find the gaps is obviously using the find next gap, but you can actually see them very easy by looking for the red marks. I prefer to undock this timeline, resize it to the size of the monitor, and move it on the next monitor. But as I'm recording this video, I will keep all of this in one window, so you can actually see what I'm doing. If you don't have multiple monitors, it's fine, but when you get the chance, you should invest at least 2 monitors to do that. I'm working on a 3 monitor setup, right? So right here you can see that I have a marker that is unlabeled. So I will see what is the name of this marker first. So it's LF arm 1. Okay, I move here. If you see it with yellow, it means that it's the same marker, so you don't have a different marker. Okay, so I just go Alex LF arm 1. Alright, so you can see that actually the cameras didn't lose the marker, so you don't have any gaps anymore, but for some reason it didn't know. Maybe it was a trajectorizing thing that it lost the marker for a split second, and then it didn't know what is that name of the marker. Okay, so you can see that I have this steep curve right here. I think that these markers are being swapped, because you see that it goes from here to the next marker. and then goes back to that. So what I should do is to select this portion here, delete that, go back and find the place where it starts swapping, delete this section as well. Okay, and what I should do is to select both markers, and then select this region that has been swapped, and go on the swap fix and apply swap only on selected frames. Now we should see that the markers are being swapped, so you don't see this marker, this left hand two markers swapping with the L pinky one. This actually creates a gap right here. This simple curve can be filled easily using the cubic thing, but I prefer on labeling the markers because I see that I have the missing information here. I just need to see what's the name, so it's L hand. Go here, select this marker, go label L hand 1. Okay, so that's what I was talking about replacing the existing data, because you can see that source and target markers contain overlapping data. Override overlapping that data. Well, I just try that and clicked OK, but nothing good's happened because some data get overlapped, but it's actually deleting this information that you see right here. So I'll click no, and I will look to see if I should use this data or not. You can actually, to fix this thing, you need to delete the existing data and go on the marker and do this thing again. Let's make sure I have the right marker. L hand I. Source and target. You can see that this is the selected region that I have, and these markers are still overlapping. So if I select this region and go back, you can see that it overlaps with these things. Let's do a test. Let's do a quick test and choose to overlap the data. L hand 2. Okay. So you can actually see that it added the data on the missing frames, and it kept the information from the other markers. So you are overlapping but keeping the information if on the source marker you have some existing frames that have information on them. Not sure if you're following me, but if you'll try it on your own, you will see that in some situation it's better to delete the data on the source marker and then do the labeling, so you will keep all the information from the unlabeled marker. Okay, so I still have some gaps here. I will choose to fill them. Okay, so all the gaps are filled. You can see that you don't have to select each gap to fill them. You just select the region and fill selected, and it will fill the gaps. On these things right here, you have two options to get around that. You can smooth the selection and it looks okay, or you can select that and fill the gap again. So it depends on the situation and your preferences. Sometimes it will work with smoothing, but sometimes you will have to delete that portion and fill it with cubic information. So what I think that cubic does, it's looking on the curve and its trajectory, and it fills that based on the actual trajectory of that curve. So you can see that I have this small gap, and if you have a lot of these small gaps, and sometimes it can get tedious to start and select each and every gap, and the best thing is to select the gap size. So I don't know, it's like a couple of frames. So if I add 10 frames, and I fill it will fill all the small gaps that are in this range that are smaller than 10 frames. I'm actually recording this motion capture at 120 frames per second, so you'll need to see and test it out to see how many frames you have on a particular gap. The best thing is to select a portion and see it's starting at 697 and it goes to 721. So that's one way to find out. So you can see that right now that I filled all the gaps, I don't get the gap icon anymore. So you can see that here I have some jiggering thing. If I right click and hold it down and push up, you can see it better right here. So these are also fixed when smoothing. You have some settings that you can play with, like the max frequency and stuff like that. If the default settings are not cutting it for you, you can try different things. So I prefer smoothing it out when I see things like that. I'm not applying smooth track. Maybe I do that on fingers when I have a lot of jiggering on some takes. When I'm using 3 characters, I get a lot of jiggering sometimes, so I apply smooth track to get around that. But when you are smoothing just the selection, you are sure that you are not losing any data. You can see right here that I have a lot of jiggering, but I can select this thing and click on smooth selection. If all the track is like that, like you saw it here, if all your track is like that, you can then apply smooth selection, because it will take you a lot of time to select each region and do that. So let me finish with the hip first. You can see that it displays, if you have multiple markers selected, it will display the data overlapped. So it will help when you have like hip 1 and hip 2. If you want to fill all the gaps at once on the selected markers, you can do so by selecting the region and click overlap. But for example, I want to show you here the pattern-based filling, gap filling option here. So let me see which one has the gaps. This one has the gaps. You can see that it disappears, and I don't have a marker, so all the cameras didn't see this marker because of the hand, I suppose, or yeah, it was very close to the margin, so these cameras didn't see as well, or maybe one camera saw it, but you need to have three cameras um, recording the marker, so you have a good triangulation on that marker. Alright, so I will select this marker, and to use the pattern based, you need to first select the marker that has the gaps on it, then select the other markers that you want to use to build a pattern. It works with just selecting one marker, but sometimes it's better to use more than one marker. But now this information look very close to what I need to fill in, so you can see that on hip 2 it goes like that, then goes down, and so I think that it will do a good job filling this information. So I'll click find next. It's not actually finding the right one. Usually I just select it like that. I increase the max gap size to 1000. That's what I prefer to work with, so I don't need to set it up for each and every gap. I choose the pattern based and I fill selected. So now if I scrub to the timeline, you can see that it's looking very smooth. And if I select the next gap and do the same thing, you can see that I have some things here that needs to be smoothed out. Other than that, it does a very good job filling the missing information if you have the information from other markers. If you watched any motion builder tutorials on cleaning up the motion capture, you saw that a lot of them are teaching you to build rigid bodies, to select groups of markers and build rigid body just for this purpose, to have them filling the missing information on some of the markers using the information from the group group of markers. So that's actually what it does. I think it's a bit extended because you can actually select this marker and then right click, select the hand marker if they are moving at the same rate and stuff like that, and fill the missing information from the hand, so you don't actually need to go back and forth and create rigid bodies with parts of the body and do this process. So I found it very easy to use this pattern based filling technique, and I found this very easy to use this pattern base. So I found very easy to use this pattern based filling technique. I tried using the model based, but maybe I'm doing something wrong because it never gave me the right result. So if you have some good results with that, feel free to post a comment on this video and share a video to see how we can actually use that. Alright, so the next one with gaps, it's the hit 2. You can see it right here, the markers got occluded by the body of the victim, I can say. So I can use the same thing. The first one that needs to be selected is the marker where you want to apply the filling gap tool. So I control click on the other marker, then find the next gap and fill selected. You can see that actually it didn't work pretty well because this marker is in a different position than this one, and it also has this curve right here that it's indicating that it should go like that. So the best thing that I can do is to delete that curve and try again. Fill selected, and it still goes up, and it's not. You can actually use that, but you'll need to manually lift this this thing. Go like that, and then lift it up. I need to make the selection smaller, and you can move the markers like that, so you have a smooth translation. Or you can just add the cubic thing. It's better to test different technique on filling the gaps to see what works best on our particular case, because it really depends on the animation that you are recording. If there are simple animation, not a lot of fast motion objects and stuff like that, you can get around using cubic for every gaps, but you can get around using cubic for each gap, but sometimes, like I said, it's better to use pattern based. So the next marker, it's the chest 4 on myself again. Let's look at this. Find next, fill selected using cubic, and this should be fine. Chest 4 is on the back. You can see that it still loses this one. Alright, so that's actually the process for cleaning up the animation from a recorded session. It may take some time, but this will make things much easier for you when you bring them in Motion Builder, because Motion Builder is not that friendly on filling the gaps, and you will need to create all the rigid bodies, which will take you some time to do. Okay, so you can see some jiggering out here. On things like that, you can just delete them and try filling them with cubic and see if that fixes your issue. If that fixes your issue. Yeah, in my case it did. My next gaps are a bit larger. When it's going down, there are no cameras to see it, so it will lose it. Before using a marker to pattern fill the other marker, it's good to solve its issues first, because if you are trying to fill this one and the marker you are using has gaps as well, you won't get any good results out of this. So I will select this gap, fill all. So in this case it will work with cubic, but I will also show you that it does the same thing using the pattern based option. I actually need to switch on cubic first. And you can see that here it loses the marker altogether for a huge gap. But you can still use the pattern based function to fill it with the top chest marker, because those 4 markers here, the 3 on the back and the 1 on the front, forms a rigid body, so that your chest actually doesn't move, doesn't bend or something like that. Fine, next. You can see the skeleton just pattern base fill selected. And you can see that the marker on the back also got filled, and I need to fix the other one as well to keep the body together. I still have some gaps to fill. I know that this video started to get a bit longer, but that's actually the process on solving these things. Or you can get a bigger space and multiple cameras, but that will cost you more money. I'm running, by the way, I'm running on a setup which has like 6 meters on the length and like 4.5 meters for the width. The cameras are at approximately 2.8 meters in the air. Alright. So here I should choose a different marker to fill that information. I still see that the hip 2 didn't get loosed. And I can find next field selected. In a situation like this, it's much better to use pattern based, because if I fill the same thing with cubic, you can see that here it's not a big thing, but you can see it how it goes up, and it doesn't follow the right motion here. I do the same thing, pattern based. You can see that it sticks better with the body. I still need to fill the other markers right here, because the victim is on the floor, and these markers are not having any information on them. You can see that this one looks pretty nasty here. We'll start with the small one first. When filling them, make sure you are checking to see if you have the right type of information here. You can see that now it looks much better. It still pops a little, but I can solve this thing with a smooth. When smoothing, you need to select a couple of frames before and after the region that you want to smooth, so it will know how to interpolate the data. Fine, next field selected. Okay, and now I'm left with this huge gap right here. I will choose to fill that pattern based. Let me check this one. You can see that this has all the missing info that I need here. And the other one has the missing info on hip 3, I think. Okay, so in this way you actually rebuild the missing information on these markers. So the body, the skeleton is kept together on the floor. You can see that it still get loose. And I need to do the same things again. But first I need to fill this gap here. I think it will be a lot easier if you guys from Natural Point will add some shortcuts. I tried looking on the setup and stuff like that, but I didn't see any way to add shortcuts for the gap filling tools. That will make things a lot easier by pressing just one K to switch between pattern based and cubic and fill that. But it still is a great tool to use for cleaning up the animation. Maybe in future releases we'll see some of these things. Okay, now it's time to fill this gap here. And after this is filled, I can select this marker here and do the same thing. Okay, you can see that it took me like 40 minutes so far to do these things, but that's the only way I know so far that it works well, and it will leave you with a great looking animation. You won't have hands popping out and stuff like that on your character, so you spend some time doing it, but after all it will save you from a lot of headaches when you see the animation in Motion Builder that are popping out and you try to find where the issue is. So it's good to start with a good it's better to start with a good base and then customize on top of that, because if your base animation is not good enough, when you start doing stuff in Motion Builder, you'll get pissed off because you see that it's not looking the way you want. Alright, so I still have some things to do. You can see that I have a huge gap right here on this hand marker, or not. Okay, you can see that these markers got switched. Right here, you can see the dropping on this marker. It's where it's switched. And to solve this issue, I need first to see what is the name of this marker. So it's right here, arm 2. I saw a marker here. Which will add some data. You arm 2, I guess. Even if it's a small, it's like a couple of frames long, you can see that it will help me to interpolate using cubic gap filling method a lot easier than not having this data. So you need to pay attention on the markers that are unlabeled because they might offer you some good data that you can take advantage of. This one also has some missing markers. Here you arm 1. Here you arm 1. Okay, so you can see that it actually filled all the missing information here. And I do need to fill this huge gap right here. I'll do that using pattern based. And next fill selected. Okay, so here it will begin the swapping. So I need to select both markers. Actually, I see that you can also use Shift to select multiple markers. So it's good. So I selected both markers. Then I need to choose the area where they are being swapped. I will do that. Okay, they are swapped until the end. Actually, I don't need this section of the animation where the victim wakes up, but I will do it just for the tutorial purpose. Right click, then go on swap fix and apply swap on selected frames. It appears that nothing happened, but if I select this marker, you can see that this data has been changed and it's been transferred on the other marker. Now it's a gap filling using cubic, which will solve this issue. And on this marker, even if I have a huge gap right here, if I will use pattern based, I might get some pretty good results with that. I will show you the difference on filling large gaps like that. If you are doing using cubic, you might get some odd results, like the hand going like that, because it's a large area and it's based on this trajectory right here and then goes on the end of on the beginning of the next available data here. So let me show you how it should look using the pattern based. You can see that it's pretty flat here. It drops a little, then goes back. So that's actually how the information should look like on your marker. Yeah, we did that. The markers move a little. I can actually see that I have a orange marker right here, so I might use that. Let me undo that. So I might use that to make the gap a little smaller. I can see that this orange thing has the information until the end of the animation. So I might delete the information on this marker, because you remember that we swapped the information that uh, the area arm 2 had. We swapped with area arm 1, so we are left with this information right here. But I saw that the orange marker has a lot more information than what we had. I want to make sure that it's one. Right click, label. Okay, so you can see that we are actually left with a small gap here instead of the big one. That actually was the take one of the animation, which we reviewed and saw that we had a lot of missing markers, and we decided to make another take on that and see if we'll get better results, because sometimes it matters where you are positioned on the scene, and if the camera see you in that particular scene that you are doing. So moving, I'm talking about a small setup like I have. If you have Prime 41 or other cameras and other cameras like that, and you get a lot of information and you don't have missing markers like that, I'm sure that you don't need to watch this video course, but I'm walking you through the gap filling tools and how to fix the swap markers and stuff like that. And I'm sure that this also happens a lot on the small studios which are doing motion capture. So I think that I covered all the techniques to fill the gaps on these things. If you have small gaps like that, you can just select cubic and fill all, and it will fill all the gap. If you choose fill everything, it will fill even the information on the unlabeled markers. If you have a huge gap size like 3000 or I don't know, it will fill, and you will get your scene filled with orange markers going all over the place. Okay, you can see that I have a couple of gaps here, and I can choose fill all and watch for things like that when you are filling everything, because you might get the markers popping a bit because of that gap fill that you did. The fingers can get pretty tedious when you make them, because a lot of swapping may happen because these are close markers. When you put them on the character, make sure you are setting them as apart as you can, so you don't get the fingers swapping a lot. But if it will happen, you just need to select that portion and swap with the marker like we did before. Here I will choose to fill this gap using the pattern. When you right click, when you control click and select another marker, you can see how this curve goes, and you see that it's almost a perfect match. If you see that, then you are sure that when filling this, um, you will get very good results. Fill selected. A couple of jiggering here and there, but if you apply a smooth on that selection, it gets fixed. So you can see that it fills that gap pretty well. I'll still have this finger out here. Require more smoothing. I think I have a swap here because he closes the hand, and the cameras think that this marker is the same with this one. So I need to select this region here, delete it. Okay, so here you can see it going back to his original position, like here. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to look, but I'll try swapping this marker to see if I get better results on closing that hand. Swap. So it actually closes the hand. And you can see that it's not keeping the finger in the air anymore. I will need now to smooth this area, then fill this gap here. Okay. See that they are still swapping in this region here. It goes back and forth. So here I will cut this. Until it gets back like here. I'll do the same thing over here. Selecting this region, I'll swap the markers again. Actually remove this portion here. Try to swap back to see what happens. Okay, I think it's better like that. And I will cubic fill the selected area. Not sure. You can see. To see if the markers are being swapped, you can see that this line here goes over there instead of going here. So I will select this region and swap these markers one by one. So until you see this, index 1 goes here instead of here. Same thing over there. So that's actually what swapping does. There is actually a lot of trial and error until you figure how the information should look like, but like I said, it's the only way to get good looking animation. At least with this kind of setup that I have. Maybe a larger space or a wider space will help me get better results on this, but I'm stuck with this space and I need to make it work for me. If you are getting better results out of this, you might not need to apply the gap filling techniques I'm showing you here. Okay, so I will continue cleaning this animation and then I will show you how it looks. I will stop talking and just work on the remaining tasks because I will be moving much faster. It really depends by the gap size on how you approach fixing these issues, but you can see that I have a small gap right here, so nothing that cubic won't fix. But here it's a bit different. I will choose to fill this area here. But the small gaps I prefer using the pattern based, like I said before. Alright, so I actually got a crash on this, and that should remember you to always save because no software is fail-proof. I guess that I won't be finishing this animation to show it here, but feel free to visit us on 3d-brothers.com where you can see a lot of our animation already cleaned up and ready for you to use in your scenes or in your games. Thanks.